So today I'm going to just give a very brief presentation here just about the community releases, and Andreas Dilger here will give a longer presentation a bit later going in a lot more detail about specific features in those releases. So this, as you'll see here, rather than being Whamcloud branded, this deck is OpenSFS branded. So OpenSFS is the Lustre specific community group, and we play an active role in that, and I serve as the lead of the Lustre working group, which is the organization that overlooks all the activities around the community releases. So in terms of, Robert talks about the move of the Intel Lustre team into to help form the Whamcloud division at DEM. So from a community release point of view, the biggest effect there was in terms of what Intel had been hosting all of the community development infrastructure, all the issue tracking systems, the download site, all the Git repository where the source code is kept, all the testing, the continuous integration system, all of that was being hosted by Intel. And now with the move over to DEM, all of the physical hardware has moved forward, and we've reverted to the URLs that existed prior to the original Whamcloud entity being acquired by Intel back some 7 years ago or so. So, OpenSFS did host a webinar recently just to sort of allow people a chance to have questions or understand what has changed. But in terms of the actual practical changes, this is the biggest change. It's just these URLs are now slightly different. Really this is one of the, seeing the real advantage of open source, that things can keep moving seamlessly even as, different organizations, come and join communities. You're not affected by, one organization being able to stop technology just by, some other factors affecting, their business priorities. So one of the activities the Lustre Working Group is involved in is we send out an annual survey just to poll across the whole Lustre community to see about usage of Lustre, and we gather information from that to sort of help inform our decisions as we make decisions relating to the community releases. And so there's fuller data available on the OpenSFS wiki if you wanted to look at that, but I picked out just here a couple of the bits of data that I found most interesting. So this goes back to February of this year. The survey was sent around. I do encourage you, if at that time, we'll do it again in 2019 to respond. We really do like to get input from end user sites, and that rest assured there's no personal details, contact details given, so there's no danger of you getting spam email as a result. It's really just a data finding exercise, and it does help influence our decisions. So this I felt was very interesting. If you look here, the blue line is the 2017 data, and the red line is the 2018 data. So you can see very typical patterns as we've seen over the years, that older releases, gradually the numbers drop down. This is, as people upgrade to more releases or take older systems out of service. But the thing that was very exceptional this year was during 2017, the 2.10 release had come out, and that had been designated an LTS release, so it would have freely available maintenance releases produced. And as a result, we saw much higher uptake of that new release, which seemed fairly healthy, were previous releases of the latest releases. But we saw very strong adoption of 2.10 on a level with the 2.5 release. And so this data now is from the early on in the year, and I would expect by the time we do the next year that we'll see 2.10 will be the clear leader of this. It came in exactly level with 2.5 on this data. And the other thing I thought was interesting, we actually, we refined this question. Previously, we were just asked very coarse-grained about the type of activities people use Lustre for. And this year, we actually sort of got people to sort of be a bit more specific about the types of, classifying the types of activity they were doing. So, we expected to see very strong response from life sciences and oil and gas, meteorology. We know that there's many sites very active in the Lustre community in those sort of areas. But the one that was very interesting for me was that we saw AI machine learning. I knew that there were some sites that we were aware of that were using Lustre, but it actually came up a pretty high percentage were using that. So, and this was one question that allowed you to pick multiple options. So it seemed that people in other disciplines were also exploring AI machine learning in conjunction with their existing primary activity. So this is definitely something that we're very much looking at and how we can best serve those kind of workloads and really get increase our value in that sort of space. In terms of the LTS Lustre releases, so these are the maintenance releases, and these are driven by either providing a roll-up of bug fixes, also keeping up with other third-party software like latest Red Hat versions or low-fed versions, that sort of ZFS versions, all those kind of things, and having a convenient, latest and greatest available, easily accessible. So these, we just had the most recent one of these was the 2.10.5 release. That was actually the first full Lustre release that we did since I moved over to DBN, and that happened in August, and we're actually gearing up, expecting to do a 2.10.6 before the end of the year. And so the other thing that a lot of people are often interested in when we start talking about this topic is what the next LTS release will be. So we did say that when we first declared we intended to be an LTS release, that we would not switch to a new LTS release for at least 18 months. So that 18-month period expires in January. So at that point, we could potentially switch to a more recent release. And I know there is definitely some interest in some of the newer features in, say, the 2.11 release, having data or metadata, for example, is definitely something a lot of people have expressed an interest in, because that's should really help this with higher performance. So we're planning to defer that decision until we have the best information available, and we're expecting, ahead of supercomputing, we will finalize that decision in the LWG and be able to announce it ahead of time for people to be able to plan around. And so the expectation is when we do decide to switch, and whether it's is in early 2019 or maybe later, that we'll have some overlap period from 2.10 to whatever the successor is, to allow people time to transition. And obviously, 2.10 has been a very widely adopted release, very stable. That people are banking on doing a new install with that, a certain 2.10 release, and a new version of Red Hat were to come out of something with people would like some notice to know that they need to switch over to a more current release that maybe needs a bit more testing or more. So finally, talking of large releases, the main release we're working on at the moment is the Lustre 2.12 release. So this is, when we originally at the beginning of the year set the targets for this, we aimed to have this for the end of this month. With the changes with the moving of the test infrastructure did sort of give us a bit of some needs of slightly reduced activity as we were physically shipping hardware around. So we're not likely to actually have this out in October, but we are actually tracking very well. Okay. We are tracking well and do expect to have this out for fairly close to supercomputing, certainly. Here's the roadmap to give you a rough idea of the expected timing of releases. We do expect to refresh this again before supercomputing to show more further out into beyond 2019, and that's again something we're finalizing in the LWG. I also wanted to just touch about IML. So this is something that we do used to talk about in these kind of community events. Is this previously had been an Intel proprietary piece of software that was for management and monitoring of Lustre file systems. So this Intel did open source this, and we've brought that team over along with the Lustre team, and we've rebranded it from Intel Manager for Lustre to Integrated Manager for Lustre. So it's still understand what IML is, but there's no confusion about Intel's ongoing involvement. And this is now open source software, and there's hundreds of sites out there in production running these sort of proprietary versions, and they're able to just upgrade to this open source version. And it's also free for people who just want to use a tool to work with Lustre as an open source product. So just to summarize again, we've been a very productive year in terms of roadmap advancement. The 2.11 release is already available, and 2.12 will be coming soon. We should have a 2.10.6 release by the end of the year. IML 408 is the latest version of that, and that new versions come out after the very soon, within only a day or two of the last releases that they work with. And that's everything I have. So I'm happy to take questions now, or I'm forward to